Folks, here we go. Adequate notice of this April the 27th, 2017 meeting has been provided in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act by posting written notice and agenda of this meeting on the bulletin board in the municipal building at 1000 Route 10, Township of Hanover, by hand delivering, mailing, or faxing such notice and agenda to the following newspapers: Morris County's Daily Record, Star Ledger, the Hanover Eagle, by filing same with the Township Clerk. May I have a roll call?
Committeeman Faramasca.
Here.
Committeeman Gallagher.
Here.
Committeeman Bruno.
Here.
Committeeman Capola.
Here.
And Mayor Francioli.
Here.
5 members in attendance, sir.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, would you all please rise, those that can, and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. He's the Civil Liberties Union. Didn't take that away from us yet, huh? Okay. Okay. We have 2 presentations to make this morning. It's been a long day. John, it was a long day. We have 2 presentations to make this evening, and we're very, very proud to make them. 2 wonderful people. The first one I'm going to have George join me on, and Russ, where are you? Russ Polo. Oh, what are you hiding in the back for? Russ, come on, please come forward. George is going to take part in a presentation we'd like to make to you. I know you're leaving the Landmark Commission, but you're not leaving in spirit. George, why don't you read this as well? Okay, read that into the record. Okay, and then
this which we're today to recognize Russ Polo. Russ Polo has been with the Landmark Commission for 17 years. He's a commissioner now emeritus, in grateful recognition of 17 years of meritorious service as a member of the Landmark Commission. Russ has seen the Landmark Commission transform itself to what we're doing now with a total restoration of the burial yards. And I thank Russ for everything that he's done and contributed to the Landmark Commission. Mike is our chairman. I don't know, Mike, if you wanted to say a couple of words.
a couple of words, Mike.
A couple of words, Mike. Not the whole story about the burial yard, okay? We also have several other members of the Landmark here tonight, Russ, because they really, truly appreciate everything
George,
you've done.
Good. All right, 4 minutes. Good.
Our burying yard is 299 years old, and in it there is a crypt, Joseph Tuttle's crypt, and we opened the crypt today.
Yes.
And we weren't quite sure what we would find, but we found a field mouse, which surprised all of us, and it ran across Agnes's feet. So she is directly involved in that history of the burying yard. We will not forget her screaming as she danced around as the mouse was chasing her. Mr. Polo will be remembered far longer than that, both for the man he is, as well as for the historic treasure he lives in. His home is number 25 in the brochure that we have just put together, which is a tour of Whippany. And Agnes was in charge of that project. And his house is a treasure, and if ever you wander by and look at it, the man has kept a 250-year-old home looking as if it were built yesterday, and keeping the town perfect is what he has tried to do for many years. And so honoring our history is what he does, and I honor him for all the work he has done. So Russ, we thank you.
Thank you, Mike. That's very nice. I think
Go up.
Yeah, I'm going to join you. Russ, I had the pleasure of serving with Russ on some earlier board, and his contributions to the Landmark Commission gonna go on forever. Now you got, now we're up to 30-something landmarks, I thought we started with 16. That means you condemned 37 houses.
I wanted to say something. I'm very honored to be here tonight and meet these wonderful board members, ladies and gentlemen. And I want to tell you a little bit about myself before I received that plaque. Russell Polo, I'm married to my lovely wife, Roxy, sitting in the back. She was a school teacher at Hanover Park. And she doesn't want to come up.
Take a picture with
We need to open it.
Yeah.
And I have 3 children. Roxanne, you'll remember Roxanne Polo. She was the greatest runner we ever had in our school. And she is now almost 50, married, lives in Virginia, has 1 child, and believe it or not, she still runs. She drives me crazy. Any place that they're having a party or a group, she'll be there doing her run. The middle boy is Russ. He lives in Deptford, and Randy is still in Hanover Township. Russ is with the Department of Environmental Protection, married, and has a son. And then Randy is married, has 2 girls, and lives in Hanover Township. And the 2 boys are still active in the local fire department. Anything that happens there, they're there. And so Papa and Mama are thinking seriously of parting with our beautiful old house.
Oh, my God.
Yes, it's just too much for us to maintain and too expensive. However, anybody that's here tonight who says, I'd love to see the inside of that house, you get on the phone, look me up in the phone book, and call Rox or myself, and we'll set an appointment, and I'd love for you to come through.
It'll take you back hundreds of years.
It is beautiful.
Just the kitchen alone and the open fire pit and the open fireplace of the kitchen is something to see in that beautiful house.
5 bedrooms, 6 baths, car garage, everything has been gone over. New furnace, air conditioning, security systems.
We're doing a classified ad here?
What's the price,
I better tell you, I have a real estate office in Mendham, Polo Country Property.
There you go.
So you'll probably see the for sale sign out
There
on
you go.
Orkney Road. But we're thinking, we're looking, and I'd love to stay in Hanover Township, but let's see where we'll end up. But we want something
Let's hope
smaller.
to keep you in Hanover Township.
Yes, we'd like to stay.
George, why don't you take a good look at that? There you go. Find a place for that.
There you go.
Now, I wasn't finished talking to, I want to say something else.
Good.
What I want to say is, this plaque is given to me, but you know something? There are a group of people sitting in the back that are connected with Landmark, and it belongs to them as well. Because we meet every Tuesday evening, and we have a wonderful time. We get things done. We're working very hard at the cemetery, and we do many, many things. We watch what you're doing, and if something you're not happy with, give us a call. We want to know if you have a complaint. We want to hear about it.
Call Mike.
Call Mike. Mike is here someplace. Where is he?
He's sitting
Yeah,
right there.
there he is.
There you go.
Where's the landmark?
But I would like to take this plaque home tonight. And
I think to get done with that burial, to get it back to where it's beautiful. There's a lot of work in there. It's, believe me, it's not even near done. But there's brochures outside that were done by the member of this committee that put together Whippany, you know, telling them all about the fort. And I think there's 45 landmarks in that brochure. So if you want to take a booklet, the booklet is right on your table, if anybody wants one.
And I'd love for you to come into the graveyard, park in the cigar place. They know we're there. So
Walk through it.
and park your car and then walk across the bridge and go into the cemetery. It is magnificent, and we're very proud of it. And there they are sitting in the back, but not all of them. I want to also say that I probably should hang this in Fieldstone. However, I would like to see it at Town Hall, and that everyone see it that way. So if you come in to pay your taxes or whatever, have a look for it. It's going to be hanging there for a while. Okay?
Very
And
good.
this Mr. Mayor, he's unbelievable. He's phenomenal. It's a super, super town.
I'm not running for office, I got 3 more years.
But from the bottom of my heart and my wife, we thank you.
Really?
Yes. Thank you.
Oh, that was very nice. That group is doing wonderful things. You're going to see some beautiful landscape going on now along the fence line. And the landscape, believe it or not, has to be done in a historic nature. We have to research and find out the trees that were done back in the 1700s and 1800s. And the historic agencies of the state will let us plant the same. Now, if we could find that species, Senator, we'd be in good shape, you know, but we're gonna look for it. We have Senator Panaccio with us. And why do we have Senator Panaccio with us? We have another wonderful award to give tonight. And I personally feel very, very special about this award. I've worked with Maria Renner Sheridan for countless years. When she first came to Morristown Airport. And at that time, she became involved immediately. And she joined, at that time, a group that was formed by the Freeholder Board, which was the Morris County Airport Advisory Committee. We were having our shares of issues with Morristown Airport at that time, noise levels, et cetera, traffic patterns, et cetera, that were problematic to a lot of the neighbors, especially along Longview. And Maria jumped right in with the rest of us on that. In the formation of this Airport Advisory Committee, she played an excellent leadership role in that and has been doing that ever since. So we couldn't be prouder. George and I were available to a wonderful presentation to Maria a few weeks ago down at the Palace in Somerset. And Maria was chosen one of the 50 top biz women in the state of New Jersey, and that is quite an accomplishment. And I know her service on our Economic Development Committee has been exemplary. She is our connection to information on the county and state level for economic data and information, and she's been a very active contributor to there as well. We can't thank you enough, and we hope this award and this plaque will just be part of that thanks. So, Maria, come forward. We're going to give you this, and I think, Senator, if you want to you also have a presentation that you'd like to make. You could do it this time. Yeah, go ahead, Senator Panaccio.
Many don't.
One of the few senators, by the way, that listens to Hanover Township. Go ahead.
I wish I was your senator. One time I was your senator, and then after they redistricted everything, they banished me. But you are ably served by former governor, current state senator Dick Cody, who's actually a first-class gentleman, and I think he's doing a great job. Russ, you had mentioned how fabulous the mayor is, but it's not only limited to the mayor or the likes of my friend George Capolo, who I know too many years, and the rest of the township council. It's the people, and it is quite an accomplishment, Maria, because out of 8.5 million people in the state of New Jersey, you are only one of 50 to be recognized. Let's assume the other half of the guys. We're not going to call them women of the year. But certainly, out of 425,000, 4,500,000, you got the award as being one of the top 50 business women in the state. Briefly, I just want to read, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but there's just a few sentences that I'd like to read, just to give you a flavor of all the good work that Maria's done. And I'm here at the request of Mom and Dad, who I also know for too many years, okay? But this is more labor of love. It's not political at all, and I really appreciate giving me the opportunity to come back to Hanover and spent some time with this exceptional town. And by the way, this was approved unanimously. If anybody knows anything at all about Trenton, we don't do anything unanimously. So people in Trenton, both Republicans and Democrats, recognize the value that is given to the state. It says, the Senate and General Assembly of the state of New Jersey are pleased to honor and congratulate Maria Shevin, a highly esteemed resident of the Garden State who has been selected by NJ Biz as one of 2017's best 50 women in business. And in addition, Maria has made significant contribution to the chair of the Morris County Economic Development Corporation, as vice president of the Northeast chapter of the American Association of Airport Executives, as trustee of the Morris County Aviation Association, as a board member of the Morris County Freeholder Aviation Advisory Committee, the Morristown Aircraft Rescue Association, the Transoption, and as a member of the Hanover Township Economic Development Advisory Committee and the Community Advisory Board of Employment and License. And I've been doing this for 30 years. I haven't done half of what she's done. With all the spheres in her life work, Maria Sheridan has established a model to emulate and set a standard of excellence with which other people may strive. I'll stop there, but other people, especially young people, they can look up to you, Maria, and they can see what good people do and what hard work accomplishes. So on behalf of the people of Trenton and neighboring 26th district, thank you for all the efforts that you've done, and God bless you. God bless all the work you've done. Stick around, you don't need a big wall.
And I'm not selling my house.
You know? Well, put it up in City Hall. Yeah, right? Absolutely. There you go. Thanks so much. Good?
John, come up here for a picture, come on.
Yeah. Come on. Where's everybody? Where's your father-in-law? Where'd he go? Where's John?
Kathy, John, come on, let's go.
Stop chatting. Look at that. Get in there. Where is she? All right. Where are you? Get in. Kathy.
Yeah, one more. Kathy.
One more.
Kathy, come on.
Yeah.
Gotcha?
Just need one
Good,
more.
good, good.
Congratulations.
Yeah, very good. Come around and stand next to the center. Kathy, you want to take a shot with everybody?
There you go.
on.
Hold your stomach in, hold your breath and smile.
That's very Good? Yeah.
Congratulations again, Leah.
Thank you.
I wish I had a legislator. Maybe someday I'll get one.
Hey,
We get a population going every district.
Good, okay. Oh, yeah. Very good. Very nice, very nice. Okay.
Remember.
All right. All right, gentlemen, at this time, unless our guests would like to have a moment to adjourn from the meeting, we'll do that. Okay. If Landmark wants to stay for the rest of this meeting, God bless you, we're ready to go. If not,
Maria,
it was
good night.
wonderful seeing you.
Good night.
Okay. Oh, let me try some of this. All right, gentlemen, at this time, motion to open the floor.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I do know that there's a contingency here that probably is going to want to be heard, and we want to hear from you. But in fairness to the public, we really would like to hear from residents of Hanover Township first, and then certainly residents who have any other concerns and issues. Joseph, how you doing?
One step at a time, Mayor.
Good to see you, especially since I know how you're going to identify yourself. Go ahead.
Well, Joseph Mahalko, 12 Anna Terrace, Whippany section of Hanover Township. I know you missed that. I can't drive anymore, so I'm relying on people that will drive me here, and a lot of people don't seem to want to show up here, but you know all about that, don't you?
Frustrates me like to no end, but that's the way things are.
I have one thought, but now I have two since Mr. Polo spoke, and I have to take the opportunity. It's sad that he feels he must leave town because there's no senior housing that he can move into. But that's a theme for another day, as you know.
One of my pets. Coincidentally, it's been the subject at hand over the last 24 to 48 hours.
Is that right?
That's another story.
I must compliment the committee, though. April 13th, you passed a resolution on zoning for corporate mailings, which was long overdue, reaffirming what was originally set out. My question or my comment vis-a-vis that particular zoning, it seems that the property itself is a little over 11 acres. However, buildable is only about 7 acres. And any developer that comes in at this juncture, based on the 8 units per acre, has been given a gift. And I hope they realize that. And I hope that those that wish to increase the density realize they already have an increase in density. And I hope that the Township Committee considers that as well. My point being, I think Mr. Branshaw will agree with me that at some point we should delineate in town whether units per acre are based on net or gross buildable
Take
land.
into consider wetlands implications and such. Yeah.
Yeah. And if we don't, we can have someone come in that may buy a substantial piece of property of which we zone it for whatever number, yet only 2 acres of 20 acres is buildable. We're going to be in a bind. So I think somewhere along the line you should produce a resolution delineating what it's going to be. Is it net or is it gross?
I think the Township Committee and I think the Planning Board would support that, and I'll tell you why. just to answer you, I love having a dialogue with you. It's great because it brings a lot of stuff to fore. We had discussed this some time ago, and we were going to go on the gross acreage all the time. But then court decisions from that point came down to support the fact that the density is based upon the net usable space. So unless I'm wrong, Blaze, I think that decision is, I don't know if it's been challenged or is that still in place?
There was case law, but currently the municipality has the option of doing it gross or net.
It's something worthy of a review.
Well, I appreciate that very much, and I think it will alleviate me coming up here and complaining about high density.
Well, then I'm going to be disappointed.
I love to see it.
Thank you, Joe. The matter of density and the interpretation of density on a piece of land has been interpreted so many different ways. The other way we try to control it is with yard distances, both front yards, side yards, but not to get into a whole planning dissertation, but I think Mr. Mahalko's points are well taken, very well taken on that. Anyone else would like to be heard from the general public at this time?
Hi, my name is Lisa Klink. This is my husband, Stephen Klink. We both reside at 36 Legion Place in Whippany. We are here regarding the decisions about our animal control services with St. Hubert's. Can you please first elaborate for all of us attending today what the most current updates are regarding Hanover's contract with services?
We had some earlier discussions, but since you opened on this matter, I didn't have a chance to make a statement on this, which might have saved some questions, but I will now.
Okay.
Tuesday passed, the 25th of April, both Mr. Coppola and I and the administrator, along with Dr. Perez, our health officer, met with representatives from St. Hubert's on procedural matters that had to be addressed. Those procedural matters were in the forms of reportings, timely reports, etc., and there were some other significant matters with regard to how some animals were managed. But having said that, we had met with St. Hubert's, as many in this room would remember, earlier on, and we had come to an accord with them as to what we thought had to be done. We felt they agreed at the time, and we put that in a memo to them, which some days later, 10 days later, I might add, and got us the answer that they rejected our memo in total. We were not terribly pleased with that as Hanover, because I don't think the conditions that we imposed at the time were difficult at all. Everything that we had imposed was for the welfare of animals, and that's our concern. You might also remember that our changeover to St. Hubert's was for the fact that they do not euthanate any animals, and that we were very concerned with all animals, not just cats, etc. Having said all of that, they rejected our proposal. Hanover Township took the initiative to meet with them last Tuesday. We finally did get a meeting from them again last Tuesday. Very nice of them. And at that meeting, we discussed what they felt was wrong with these issues. We think we've set the matter aside. They took some issues with some language in the word probation versus some other language, but agreed to all the conditions. I think, Dr. Perez, they finally agreed to all the conditions that we had there. I will, for the record, read very briefly what those conditions were that they were going to meet, so we all understand them.
Okay.
And simply put, St. Hubert's will make timely reports of incidents of bites, injuries, or exposures as indicated in this letter. So the health department will accept the reports by mail, telephone, fax. We put several email addresses in here because there seemed to be some difficulty with their communications process. When we make 3, 4, and 5 phone calls and don't get return calls, we get a little upset. Number 2, St. Hubert's will consult with the township health officer prior to the euthanizing any animal, domestic animal, which was surrendered by its owner and which it was involved in a bite or exposure incident. This was a very unfortunate incident that involved the euthanizing a dog one day after it was supposed to be put into a timely probation, timely period of quarantine, thank you. Number 3, monthly reports will be reviewed by the health department upon receipt, and such. Dr. Perez will contact you regarding any entries of the report which require any additional detail. Finally, and lastly, at least once a month, and by the way, my entire township committee agrees with this last paragraph as well, because it's what we certainly as taxpayers of Hanover Township are entitled to. At least once a month, we will meet to have telephone conversations, conferences with you to discuss services rendered, monthly reports, and any corrective measures that may be required. Let us know if all of this is acceptable to you. And I might add that we did receive, very shortly after this last correspondence, we did receive from Becky Burton an acknowledgement that St. Hubert's is accepting all of these terms. So on that note, that's where we are, and we're going forward with them on a review basis.
Okay. So we are still currently to this day contracted with St. Hubert's?
Correct.
We are not ending the contract anytime soon with them as long as they follow those procedures?
This clearly says we're not ending the contract. Correct.
Okay. I know the timer went off. Am I allowed to still make statements?
Pardon me?
I know the timer went off. Can I still speak? I have some statements.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. That's all I was asking.
Make your point.
Because
Yes.
the timer had went off. So I just wanted to address a couple things specifically in the state of Hanover.
You have 4 minutes, Lisa, but go ahead.
Okay. Specifically in the state of Hanover address, I watched the video again today just to make sure I was getting this correct. In your address, you said we are about to revert back to Parsippany, obviously saying, now we're staying with St. Hubert's. But I was very disturbed by the fact that you said the difference between the two, and I quote, was one euthanizes animals and one does not euthanize animals. This quote, at least to me, insinuates that Parsippany does not euthanize and St. Hubert's does. This statement does not make sense at all to myself or my husband. We currently have factual information from the 2015 New Jersey Department of Health document on animal control services that states quite the contrary. We do want to state for the record that the 2016 document is not available yet. Otherwise, these numbers would have been reported here tonight. However, this document does pertain to our township because we were using Parsippany Animal Control at that time. I do have the records. Would you like a copy? Because I think they're very important. I did highlight some of the numbers on here of euthanasia rates.
Thank you.
Can I approach and
You
give you
certainly may.
I just want to note a couple highlights because it's very important that we know this information.
Fine, you have 2.5 more minutes to do
Okay,
it.
no problem. According to the report, Parsippany Animal Shelter, which is used by Parsippany Animal Control, had one of the highest euthanasia rates in the state. Their overall euthanasia rate was 42.6% of all animals being euthanized. It's horrendous. Perhaps the most disturbing information on this chart was the euthanasia of cats, which was 52%. That's over half. It's unacceptable. My husband and I currently have a 4-year-old rescue cat. According to this, even though he's up to date on shots, he has a microchip. If he were picked up by Parsippany Animal Control and placed in the shelter, he would literally have a 50-50 chance at living. Specifically, he has more of a chance of dying than living. That's just what the facts say. To me, this is horrifying, as our pets are our family members. So that was very concerning to me. Comparatively, St. Hubert's has an exemplary record of animal care with animal control services. Their overall euthanasia rate was only 4.3% of animals that came into the shelter, and these numbers were only in regard to animals that were severely sick, injured, or aggressive. That was the only reason they were euthanized. Obviously, in emergency situations, there is need for euthanasia when an animal is greatly suffering. In regard to cats, only 4.8% had to be euthanized. If we go back and compare, do we, as taxpayers in Hanover, want Parsippany's 52% euthanasia rates on cats or St. Hubert's 4.8%? I personally, and many people can agree with me, we want to be with St. Hubert's. The rates are dramatically different. So just in closing, I personally, and my husband too, we love St. Hubert's and we wish to stay with them. They're an award-winning shelter that has incredible success over the years in caring for animals and adopting them to wonderful homes. However, we want to stress to you that regardless of your decision, obviously in future decisions, we strongly urge the committee members that if it comes down to choosing another animal control, we want to stay away from Parsippany Animal Shelter. Their euthanasia rates are just extremely high, and we just hope in the future we can work with St. Hubert's. We cannot stress enough how deserving Hanover residents and their pets are of humane animal control services. Parsippany Animal Control has never and will never be the right decision for Hanover. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Anyone else like to be heard at this time?
Hi. My name is Linda Fritchie, and I reside at 39 Courtright Road in Whippany, Hanover Township. I also would like to speak about animal control within Hanover. I am against moving backwards and recontracting with Parsippany Animal Control, as they are a high-kill organization that emphasizes control, not welfare. While I am hopeful you can resolve the issues you have with St. Hubert's, as they provide many services beyond animal control, if you cannot, you must move forward in a new direction with an alternative humane organization. I understand Animal Control Solutions could provide an alternative. However, I do not believe they provide trap, neuter, release services as part of their contract, which, as you know, is a fantastic program for this community and for the cats, and one that many support. Approximately 20 cats have been fixed through this program in the past year through St. Hubert's, and I would strongly recommend that you have some alternate plan in place to support and pay for trap, neuter, and release if you decide to change providers. Mayor Francioli, you mentioned that you learned through the county health officer, Carlos Perez, that St. Hubert's is destroying animals and not providing reports or services to Hanover that they contracted for. I am very surprised by this, and I invite you or Dr. Perez to provide a great service to the community by uploading a written report outlining these egregious acts so residents can see the information for themselves. While St. Hubert's has released its intake numbers and results since the contract began in May 2016, I would like to see the same intake and result records from Parsippany Animal Control for the previous year. Specifically, how many animals were picked up from Hanover and what the outcome was.
If we had those, Linda, we would provide them for you.
That
But
would
up to
be
6 months
wonderful.
with no reports from them, we don't have such records. But go ahead.
In the meantime, I have done my own research, and the New Jersey Department of Health released its 2015 report for animal intake and disposition, which I'm happy to email you a copy of. In 2015, Parsippany picked up 371 cats. It euthanized 193, which is 52%. St. Hubert's picked up in the same year 1,556 cats, 4 times as many as Parsippany Animal Control, and euthanized 74, which is a 4.7% rate. I am sure I am not alone in wanting to know what acts St. Hubert's committed that are more egregious than Parsippany Animal Control's 52% kill rate. The town council seems overly concerned over the one owner surrendered dog that was euthanized for being vicious. I stress owner surrendered. I am surprised that the town council and health officer are not more concerned with animals living at America's Best Hotel. I understand that there was many state-sponsored people living there, and while it is noble on the state and the hotel's part to keep the family's animals included intact, why is Dr. Perez not concerned with the animals there are up to date on vaccinations, or what licensing responsibilities these tenants have to Hanover while living there? I'd also like to know, has the town council discussed Mr. Perez's ability to serve Hanover Township in the capacity the township needs? I understand the need to consolidate services. However, his time spent on Hanover issues is hindered by the fact that he is also the full-time health officer for Morris County and also serving as the health officer for Morristown, Denville, Boonton Township, Morris Plains, and Mendham Township. And to add, he is currently a PhD candidate at Rutgers Newark, which requires him at this point in the process to do research on his own, which will culminate into his PhD thesis. In closing, animal welfare, not control, is what Hanover needs to align itself with. Please make the right choices for this community. Thank you all
Linda.
for your time. I appreciate it.
Excuse me, ladies, if you would please spare us the outbursts. We're moving in your direction, or we're trying, unless you want to reverse it. George, what's the problem?
Yeah, I can't hear good. I was part of
Well,
the-
that's 2 of us, but go ahead.
But I have another tree that fell down.
While we were here?
No, on my property
Oh.
again. And I asked the school, because it's a school property.
Right.
The engineer came over from the town, and they said it was school property. It's not my property.
Jerry?
And this third tree that's fell down, and they refused to take it away. He says to me to take it away. I'm 90 years old. I can't keep taking the trees away.
Jerry,
Yes.
this latest tree falling, or whatever is this, have you had an opportunity to look at this?
The only tree that I'm aware of was the tree that fell, a few months ago that I think was resolved with the tree. I'm not aware of any new tree falling. And again, as you understand, that the tree is not on town property. It's either the school or your property. It has nothing to do with town
It's a
property.
school property. The engineer was over from the town and said it was school property. Now, I'd appreciate it if you take the tree away.
Again,
This is the third tree that's fallen down. I don't know what's wrong with your trees. They don't want to stay up there. But at least send somebody over and the engineer from the town
again,
said it
that
was
would be the school's responsibility. That would be the school's responsibility to remove, not the
George,
township's.
George, I'm gonna let you get with Jerry at some point, because we're gonna let the meeting continue. We have to let the meeting continue. We've got to, all right, so I'm gonna let you get with you, okay? All right, George, okay. We're gonna try and help you. We come out there, all right, I apologize.
Put
Ladies
this
and
on
gentlemen, the
Roy
floor.
Wall, please. Let's get Roy All involved, right? Is this,
You should.
why do we continue to be the primary contact?
All right, gentlemen, at this time, the floor is still open. Ladies and gentlemen, the floor is still open if anyone would like to be heard at this time. Motion. Terry, how you doing?
Hi there. Terry Baird, 180 Parsippany Road, Whippany, side of town. Where's Joe? I have a question for y'all. Would you please raise your hand if you have a dog up there?
Hamster count?
I didn't get to them yet.
Oh, dogs, okay.
Dog? Dog?
Yes, I have a dog.
Okay.
My dog was a
Next
rescue
question.
from a shelter who was on a kill list.
Yeah, mine came from North Carolina, in horrible situation from the Humane Society too. Cats, anybody with cat? I know your cat, because your cat gets around town.
A lot of people know my cat for some reason.
Yes. Your,
I put him on Facebook too, by the way.
now, your cat even gets driven home by people.
Yeah, my cat's a pretty happening guy in town.
I realize that, but you realize that those happening guys, if perchance we had somebody like Parsippany Animal Control, might not be so lucky getting back home.
Terry,
The cats have a real-
Are you
The cats
going
have a
somewhere?
real problem.
Go ahead. No, I mean, your dissertation here, what is the
You wanna-
point? You're trying to make a point.
I'm trying to make a point.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, the cats have a real problem, with Parsippany Animal Control.
Mine came out of Mount Pleasant, by the way.
Actually, mine came from Mount Pleasant, but they
Bites
brought
the
them up
hell
from
out of
down
me
south.
every time I come home, so she probably knows something I don't know. But go ahead.
Have you ever been to Parsippany Animal Control, gone to their offices? Anybody ever been there? Anybody been to St. Hubert's offices? Okay, you've been to St. Hubert's, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you've been to both.
Went there to adopt, yeah.
But you've been there to both. You've been to Parsippany.
I've been to St. Hubert's, I've been to Mount Pleasant, I've been to Parsippany.
Parsippany, okay.
Okay.
Now,
Do I get a
my
grade?
experience with Parsippany is a very small environment, doesn't have much space to even hold any animals. So if an animal were to go in there, their chances of finding a space to live there would be pretty difficult. My point is this, is that we all have animals. It's not just us here. You guys have animals too. And I'm sure they love you unconditionally. That, you should really consider how the humane aspect of it. And the numbers don't lie. The 52% of the cats dying over in Parsippany from the State Department of Health saying so, I mean, that's just unacceptable. And I understand that, maybe down the line, St. Hubert's might not, hold up, their end of the contract. Please, I beg you to go with another organization that's more humane. And maybe if they don't have a TNVR policy in there, have them put in the contract, or buy spay neuter certificates, and so that people can have be able to take care of these community cats. Community cats are a good thing. They're not they're not bad for your community. So that's really all I have to say. But think about it in your heart. Some of you have dogs and cats. I mean, when they get old, they get deaf. You find them on somebody else's front porch. They don't know how to find home. It could be your dog. It could be your cat. Okay? Thank you.
I really think we ought to take this subject very serious. Believe me, we fully understand, the time that the mayor and I spent just trying to make sure we could work through these issues. I personally transport puppies for CNI, so I appreciate, dogs and cats, and, well, Judy knows about me and my cats. But anyway, we do take it very serious, all right? Please keep that in mind. We spend a lot of time on it because we all take it serious.
Floor remains open. Would anybody else like to address the Township Committee at this time? They can do so from the podium, giving us your name and address for the record. Hearing none, seeing none.
Motion to close.
Motion to
Second.
close. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Administrator.
Okay, as we continue with this evening's agenda, we have approval of the Township Committee regular minutes of April 13th and bid committee meeting of April 18th. May we have a motion for approval?
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr.
Second.
Aramasca, seconded by Mr. Gallagher. All in favor?
Aye.
So approved. We have one item of communication. It's a letter dated April 27, 2017, addressed to me. Dear Mr. Giorgio, please accept this letter as my formal notice of resignation as the Hanover Township East Hanover Court Administrator. My last day of employment in Hanover will be Friday, May 12, 2017. I have accepted the position of Court Administrator with Chester Borough, Mendon Borough. I want to thank you for the opportunities that have been extended to me while I have been here. It has been a pleasure working for you over the last 16 months. While my time here was not long, I am proud of the progress in the court and of my accomplishments, and hope you are as well. Should you need anything further, please feel free to call me at any time. Very truly yours, Lisa Hanover. In accordance with policy, may we have a motion to accept the letter of resignation?
So moved.
Second.
By Mr. Faramaska, seconded by Mr. Gallagher. All in favor?
Aye.
So accepted by the Township Committee. Departmental reports, the following are on file in the Business Administrator Township Clerk's Office. They include the report of the construction official on the issuance of all building permits and certificates of occupancy through March 31st, 2017. We also have the report of the Township's Property Maintenance Officer of all activities conducted by the Property Maintenance Officer through April 26th. Ladies and gentlemen, we now continue with the introduction of one ordinance. Actually, we have one item which is missing from the agenda. No, I'm sorry. That's the introduction of two ordinances. The first is going to be ordinance number 14-2017. This authorizes the purchase and installation of a new Motorola Solutions Incorporated 911 equipment and emergency notification software and services through the Houston-Galveston Area Council Cooperative Pricing Program, all in accordance with NJSA 52:34-6.13, further appropriating the sum of $177,500 from the 2017 Capital Improvement Fund and all prior years for the acquisition. This ordinance will be further considered for public hearing and final passage at the Township Committee meeting on the 25th of May at 8:30 p.m. here in the main meeting room. And at that time, any person wishing to be heard concerning the ordinance will be given the opportunity to speak. The ordinance and the notice of introduction will be published in full in the Daily Record in accordance with law. So at this time, may we have a motion on the introduction of ordinance 14-2017. We have a motion by Mr. Capola, seconded by Mr. Bruno. A roll call for introduction. Mr. Gallagher.
Aye.
Mr. Faramaska.
Aye.
Mr. Bruno.
Aye.
Mr. Capola.
Aye.
And Mr. Francioli.
Aye.
So introduced. And ladies and gentlemen, the second item for introduction, which does not appear on the agenda, but was discussed by the Township Committee with the Township Attorney during our legal work session, is docketed as ordinance number 15-2017. It's an ordinance of the Township Committee of the Township of Hanover, amending and supplementing Chapter 166 of the Code of the Township, entitled Land Use and Development Legislation, by amending the permitted uses in the WC Zone District in order to allow certain small-scale industrial uses having an accessory retail component. This ordinance will be further considered for public hearing and final passage at the Township Committee meeting on the 8th of June 2017 at 8:30 p.m. And at that time, any person wishing to address the ordinance concerning the ordinance will be given an opportunity to speak. The ordinance and the notice of introduction will be published in full in the Daily Record in accordance with law. So at this
So
time,
moved.
we have a motion for introduction
Second.
by Mr. Farmaska, seconded by Mr. Gallagher. On roll call, Mr. Gallagher.
Aye.
Mr. Farmaska.
Aye.
Mr. Bruno.
Aye.
Mr. Capola.
Aye.
And Mr. Francioli.
Aye.
So introduced. And ladies and gentlemen, on page 2 and 3, as a consent agenda, we have resolutions A through J. Are there any questions from members of the governing body concerning any of the resolutions which are listed?
Motion to approve.
There's a
Second.
motion by Mr. Bruno, seconded by Mr. Faramaska. On roll call to approve the consent agenda of resolutions A through J. Mr. Gallagher.
Aye.
Mr. Faramaska.
Aye.
Mr. Bruno.
Aye.
Mr.
Aye.
Capola. And Mayor Francioli.
Aye.
So approved. There are no raffle applications this evening, gentlemen. So that clears the agenda. The business administrator, township clerk, and I thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Give me those. Yeah. Those. All right. Okay. No, you had no raffles applications.
None at all.
All right.
That's it.
Okay, gentlemen, once again, I'd like to open the floor.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, the floor is open. If anyone would like to comment on anything from this evening, please do so from the podium, giving us your name and address for the record.
Hi, Linda McRae, Mountain Avenue, Cedar Knolls. I'm here about the cats, the dogs, St. Hubert's.
Linda, raise that microphone up to you. There you go.
Okay. I have a question. The requirements that you were given to St. Hubert's, was that in the contract, the original contract, those requests?
The original contract's still in place.
Or the requirements that you spoke to them recently about?
They're not new. They're not new.
Yeah.
They're not new?
No.
They were in the contract?
These were conditions. I don't think what's being understood by the general public, and forgive me for, becoming a little upset with it, is we fully appreciate the support that St. Hubert gets from the community, and we wouldn't be using them unless we felt the same way. And we didn't go to St. Hubert's to cut dollars or to save taxpayers' money. We went to St. Hubert's because we feel the welfare of the animal is first and primary, and that they do not euthanate animals. In their terms, quote, turn the cats into barn animals that they release in different areas. So that was never a factor. What was a factor, and was a factor with our health officer and our health department, is the lack of reports, the lack of them complying with certain requirements and regulations from our health department that are fundamental. And these are all administrative items, and we were hoping that first meeting we had with them would have corrected it. But apparently they had some objection to it. So now we've eliminated the objection, so we've eliminated the word probationary period and replaced that with the word review. That only took Mr. Capola and I 2 hours, okay? But otherwise, I'm trying not to be sarcastic, so please bear with me. So we are doing our level best, as is our health officer, to work with this organization. I speak for myself, but I hope I speak for the committee when I say if this was any other vendor in this type of a situation, we wouldn't be having this situation. Okay? So having said that, nothing's changed in the contract. Everything will go along as so stipulated in the contract from day one. And these are only compliance requirements that we refer to in the contract, but that were not adhered to. We were not getting reports for some 6 months prior to Dr. Perez coming aboard. None. So for the money that your taxpayers are paying for this service, we expect something in return. $3,500 a month is not chump change, okay? So we have a responsibility to 13,700 people in Hanover Township.
Mayor, maybe you want to indicate that every 30 days there will be a review between
Every 30
Perez
days.
and Becky Burton.
Every 30 days, there will be a review of the reports that come in, and the Township Committee has requested copies of those reports, which they'll be provided with.
I just want to respond real quick, Ron. Just before it was referred to as the Township Committee feels, the Township Committee thinks. The Township Committee was given information based on a couple complaints. No action has been taken to switch from St. Hubert's back to Parsippany. I made it very clear from day one, it doesn't have to be A or B. There could be other alternatives. So I'm well aware personally, and Ron said a minute ago he speaks for himself, and just speaking for myself without getting into too much detail, I'm not happy with a lot of the things that I hear about certain shelters. So I certainly will not support recommending that be an alternative for Hanover Township. But bang for the buck and good service, St. Hubert's has a great reputation. Hopefully this miscommunication and this breakdown in communication, with the fact also that we didn't have a functioning health department for a while. So there's a lot of moving parts that probably got us to this point. But as 1/5 of this body, I understand clearly it's not A or B. If it doesn't work out, we will talk about it as a group of 5, and we will make a decision and share it with the town. But as far as I'm concerned, it's not A or B. It's not St. Hubert's or Parsippany Animal Shelter. And in order to make a change, I'm personally going to have a lot more information. And I just wanted to weigh in on that because as a body, we do have limited amount of information. We're getting more, but not enough for me to want to make a change. Just had to go on the record.
St. Hubert's is our service provider, and I don't think there's anybody on this township committee that's going to argue with what I'm going to tell you. We truly hope they succeed. We truly hope they succeed. We truly hope that they uphold the tenets of the contract which they have with the town, and look forward to them doing that, and I think we'll all be happy if that were to happen. If that does not happen, then it's our responsibility to make additional investigation and to make a choice with a provider that's going to uphold the tenets of a contract.
Okay, there's a paper side of the situation, and then there's the resident side of the situation. That's all I was asking was that in the contract? We don't really know what's in the contract. We don't know what goes on behind the doors. We know what we see as residents, and when they're called, how we're treated and how immediately they come and take care of the situation. So there's good and bad in everybody, but we just want you to know the goodness that they are to the residents and the animals.
Well, I think our attorney would note that because these are legal contracts, could correctly Fred explain that we can't really go out and discuss what the parts of those contracts.
Under legal.
Well, I think suffice to say, if they had done that on every call, we wouldn't be having these conversations, right? So there were incidents and issues that violated the agreement or at least breached the contract, and that's why we had to have the conversations. And it got to the point where we may consider other alternatives.
Bob,
no one ever said we're going back to Parsippany.
These meetings, Bob, I appreciate the explanation on legal session and personnel session, but these meetings were held in an open door policy over here. They were on all our agendas. They're published properly. We're not going to send notices to everybody's mailbox to 3,700 heads of household every time we want to do something here. If you don't like the process with this elected body, you can do something about it. But for my opinion, we served and lived up to every portion of an Open Public Meetings Act. You were entitled to sit in on any of these meetings. We closed the door when we went into legal session, which meant there was risk of litigation. If there's risk of litigation, then we're going to go into legal. That's really it. Nobody is holding any curtain or veil over any of this stuff. It's been an extraordinary amount of time and effort by the part of a few of us on this township committee. I'm personally exhausted of it. But thank you for your comment.
Mayor, if I just want to add to Committeeman Cappola's point. When there's a discussion in an executive session, it's not to keep things from the public. There's very few reasons you can go into executive session to have those discussions. It's to protect the interest of all of the taxpayers, because there's a legal discussion about what the township's rights are in a contract and what the strengths are in a contract and what the weaknesses are. So I don't want to come out and tell everybody what the weaknesses are in any contract, okay, and have an adversary, be privy to that. The governing body has the right to protect the township's interest and have the discussions in executive session. But no decisions can be made in executive session, formal decisions. You could get some direction, but it's not like in an executive session A contract, you can discuss the legal issues, but you can't terminate the contract. You'd have to do that out here. And this governing body has always followed that, to the letter of the law, and it was my advice and recommendation that the contract terms and any legal issues first need to be discussed in executive session. Then, to Mr. Coppola's point, the discussion transfers to the public portion of the meeting when the mayor read exactly what was the direction of the governing body, with respect to the contract going forward. That's what was really resolved between the parties. But so that you're aware, and sometimes just the public, it's important everyone knows, because to say that something's in executive session that shouldn't is basically a very negative reflection on the committee. It means that there's a violation, and that's not the case. I'm there, and they're very diligent about making sure that the discussion, the legal issues were discussed. But then, unlike some municipalities, this governing body will come right out and start talking about exactly what the issues are, as happened tonight. There was the legal issues, and then the mayor came out and read exactly where the governing body wants to go with respect to the contract. And I hope that's clear, because the integrity of the process is very important to everybody as a community. And so that executive session is one of the few reasons you can go in. It's to protect the township's legal rights and have a discussion about what the legal options are. And then the governing body can answer just about as many questions as they can, as long as they're not giving away some type of legal advice or strengths and weaknesses where someone else could take advantage of the township or the taxpayers. I hope that helps.
Thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the floor is still open. Oh, God, you take this one, boy.
Hi, Judy Irati, Hanover Township. Mr. Samrow.
Uh-oh. Hi.
I know you said it's clear,
Yes.
but I don't think it's clear, because the residents have a right to know upon what the basis is for the decision, and I believe it was a couple of meetings ago that it did appear on the work session to go back to Parsippany. That was the title. Now, I think the residents need to know everything, what you decided on, because right now the residents, from what we heard from the mayor, is that St. Hubert's was not holding up contractually the reporting, the timely reporting and everything. So it seems to me, as a resident, that because they didn't provide reports,
Well, there was more than that.
Excuse me?
There's more than that.
Well, then why don't we know about it?
What do you mean, why don't you know about it? We just explained. Some of this is contractual. You know that. You've sat on this committee.
Well, if it's
It was
contractual
discussed
and it's in the
executive
contract,
session.
why don't you tell me what it
What are we
is?
debating about? We're not going back to Parsippany. What's the issue?
There's no action that could be taken in executive session, and I think it was just explained that any action would have to take place here in the public portion. And right now, as mentioned earlier, we're still with St. Hubert's. So there's nothing that took place, again, without the public. The discussion was, for an example, let's just say I was to advise the governing body, gee, if you terminate the contract, this isn't the case, okay? This could cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars in damages. I wouldn't want to say that publicly. I would want to tell the governing body this is the risk, because I wouldn't want the other side in a case to know our concerns or our legal exposure. Those are the type of discussions in executive session. But there's no decisions made. There's no vote made.
Right.
And I know you're aware of that, but there isn't. So that discussion is preliminary to legal issues, and then the governing body comes out and makes any kind of decisions relevant to that, but it makes it in the public. So I don't agree with you, and if you're asking me, I can tell you that there's no decisions made. There weren't any decisions made without the public. That's right here.
Right.
And I hope that, I think it's it's good to always ask, and I know, that you're very vigilant at that, and that's good. But I also think it's very important that if I'm saying that, and then what you're hearing tonight falls into line, it's important that we're all clear on that, because I don't like the governing body to have a cloud over it about a legal proceeding. It's one thing if you disagree with the policy or the decisions or what you want to voice, what direction to go in. But to say that the integrity of the process is tainted and that there's something that was done illegal, that I really will go to great extreme to explain that this was done just from a discussion. If the governing body had come out and said, we switched to Parsippany tonight before the meeting got in the public portion, that'd be a violation of the law. That didn't happen. So I really, emphasize, we have a municipal clerk who's been, doing this for over almost 35 years, and myself in practicing, and this governing body, we are there to be the guide to make sure the discussions happen in public and in closed. There was nothing tonight that has been discussed where someone interjected, myself or Mr. Giorgio, you can't answer. There really hasn't been, because the legal issues have been vetted, and I know it's important the public hears everything, and the governing body has been we always try to be very transparent when the questions come forward. But I hope, Ms. Arati, that helps, because I really don't want to walk away with that cloud cast upon the governing body or the clerk.
I know you're on top of things, and you would not let a legal session become illegal. Anyway, but as you know, and as I know, that once an issue is resolved in legal sessions, it then becomes public, correct?
Right.
All I was saying is the public does not know tonight what the basis for even thinking about going to Parsippany and getting rid of St. Hubert's was. Was the basis that we just weren't getting the reports?
It was published on Facebook even before we got out of a conference session.
Was the basis of you weren't receiving timely reports?
The procedural complaints, and I personally answered a lot of them, I might tell you. I've been consumed.
What site was that? Because I don't have time to search all around the internet.
For an example, I want to try to answer that to put it to rest.
It's a game.
I will represent to you, there was no discussion regarding Parsippany this evening in executive session. There's no discussion. There was a legal discussion about the contract, and there wasn't a discussion about what does Parsippany have to offer. That would have happened out here if that were the case. So hopefully that well, I can't tell you what was discussed. I can tell you what wasn't, and that was not discussed.
Well, I don't know about anyone else, but what I perceive from this is that the basis for considering changing to any other animal shelter was the untimeliness of the reporting. And I'm saying, as a person in town, the timeliness of reporting is way, way less important than the saving of the animal. So if you didn't get timely reports and you're thinking about going to another shelter that kills more animals, that's bad logic. That's all I'm saying. That's my own opinion. And thank you very much for your legal opinion.
Again, St. Hubert's is the animal service provider for Hanover Township, has been. We truly hope they succeed. We truly hope they step it up. We truly hope they maintain the tenets of the contract. And if we go forward with that, we'll all be happy, because there'll be no change. We're not looking to make a change. However, we have responsibilities, and we need to uphold those responsibilities. Otherwise, we'd be known as being derelict in terms of our responsibilities. So I truly hope, and I speak, if any member of the Township Committee wants me to correct me on it, do so. But we truly hope, genuinely, that St. Hubert's is successful.
You want to comment on that? Or?
No.
Okay.
Jim Martin from Frantic Road, Whippany. To beat a dead horse, I think I understood everything that happened at the beginning, and we are with St. Hubert's.
It's a very passionate issue, Bill. You know that. We all have animals. We all love them. And for the most part, domestic animals, which we're told by some people that we were going to try to destroy, are not even in the equation. If animal control takes any control in Hanover, it's on feral animals of that nature, etc., and we want them treated in the most humane way. We've said that 70 different ways.
Now that everybody has all said St. Hubert, what would happen if nobody gave a third choice? It was Parsippany or St. Hubert's, as you say.
Well, there is a third choice.
Not to bring it up, but I'm saying St. Hubert was going out of business a few years back, as I remember. and it was in
St.
jeopardy.
Hubert's operates without
But-
any real state aid. St. Hubert's operates on the graces of those that contribute to it and support it, and that's wonderful. So, I mean, I understand that, and how they set to stay in business. And we're not taking issue with the fees they charge or not. We're never entering into any of this thing.
Right.
These are strictly between our health officer, Dr. Perez, our health department here, and records that they require that are fundamental that we were getting, but were heretofore not getting. Okay? And a lot of these procedures had to be straightened out. We managed to straighten them out. Like I said, the most ridiculous meeting I ever sat through in quite a long time was a several-hour meeting. George, correct me if I'm wrong, over the word probation. Now, you should take the Funkin' Wagnall directory out and see how it's described, for God's sakes. But, Bill, but that's it. I'm sorry.
Well, I was surprised that this meeting took this long to tell you.
Oh, but trust me, it could go longer. Yeah.
But I thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay, bye.
Floor is still open? Seeing none, hearing none, motion to close? All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Okay. Gentlemen, any other business? Ace?
Take it away, Ron. First of all, I want to say, Joe Senior, it's great to see you. Joe Mahalko Senior from the Whippany section of Hanover Township. I think that's music to all of our ears. It's great to see you, Mr. Mahalko. Really is. Welcome back. I want to say, too, that the weather is going to get nice, hopefully, tomorrow. And as part of the School and Park Traffic Safety Advisory Committee, I'd say, please, everybody, be very, very careful. We have a lot of really good places that all our kids like to go to get their slushies and their pizza and their submarine sandwiches. So let's all just be a little bit more careful. They're going to be on their bikes, running around, jogging. Got a lot of good things coming up, including 2 5K runs. I think George is going to talk about the fire one. I'm going to just tell you a little bit.
Why don't we have walks?
I think you can walk at both of these now.
There's a walk.
I do want to just say that Tuesday night, Mr. Wasco and the Board of Education at K-8 recognized the One Day, One School Beautification and Safety Initiative for the work we did in October. It was a very nice ceremony. He recognized all of us and all of our team and all the work that we did. It was very nice to be there, and I appreciate it. A lot of our men were there and women. We did announce that we are going to have our next one at Hanover Park High School in October. It's going to be our 10th anniversary, believe it or not. It's going to be probably the biggest one so far, and again, we're going to dedicate it to the memory of Ralph Politi Jr. I want to say on May 12th, we're going to have Hanover Township's Big Night Out, but now it's the Morris Area Coalition, so it's going to be bigger and better with more events, more great things for the people to do. And of course, we're going to have the tug of war at the end of the night. And Joe, is Joe still over? Joe, I just want you to start doing a little bit of extra sit-ups and push-ups. Get ready to be the anchor on that tug of war.
Oh my God, they're going to drag you through that?
And May 16th, Carol Grossi, on behalf of the Morris Area Coalition and Education of Positive Choices, is going to host a night of positive choices with Eric LeGrand, the football player from Rutgers. Excellent. It's a night of inspiring stories and helping people understand how great we really do have it and how blessed we are, and how people that have more challenges and struggles do realize that they still have a very good situation, and they can pick themselves up and be positive. We also have a Giants player that battled with addiction, and we also have a school teacher that battled cancer and I believe didn't miss one day of teaching. And that a very inspiring event. We're also going to have a lot of law enforcement there. And once again, on May 12th, it's going to be Law Enforcement Night Encore. And we have plenty of HTPD will be on hand with other surrounding municipalities. The only other thing I want to report is that the DPW has been very busy. Bob had his big parade, which we all marched in on Saturday. The fields look beautiful. All the municipal property looks beautiful. The men are out all day long, every day, doing a fantastic job. And sometimes everything, we just take it for granted, but there's a very, very highly trained, skilled, dedicated men in the DPW that work day and night, really, to make the town look like it does. So I personally appreciate it, and that is one of my favorite details. But that's it, Ron.
Very good, very good. John?
Roads activities underway. And it begins.
Signs are up. Signs are up. Ridgedale Avenue.
3.6 miles of roads are going to be done by
Finally.
Hanover Township. Concrete work is being done. What does that mean, concrete work is being done? Well, concrete work consists of looking at the storm sewers, making sure they're intact, correcting that, making sure that any of these roads that are being paved, the corners are going to have handicapped sidewalks put in, Mr. Malco, to make it more friendly for our friends who need that assistance. Ridgedale Avenue, the signs are up. You'll see activity going on pretty soon in terms of paving on Ridgedale. That'll be the kickoff, with the majority of the roads starting to begin the paving process, which is step 2, in late May throughout the month of June and July, dependent upon weather, dependent upon the contracts, which we use the county to become as efficient and effective we can with the taxpayers' money. Second issue I just want to highlight is this Saturday is Free Community Shred Day. And it's from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. at 10 Ridgedale Avenue, also known as Employment Horizons. So please come out and bring all of those old tax forms that you have sitting there, and they will be destroyed up in front of your eyes for no cost. I look forward to seeing you there on Saturday morning.
Very good. Thank you. Very good. Committeeman Capola.
Yes, a couple things. First of all, if you do, as I mentioned this evening with Mr. Polo being recognized, the Landmark Commission has really done quite a bit, especially with the stone restorations over at the burial yard. Thanks to this committee, who has been extremely supportive of the oldest historical register in Morris County, which is that burial yard. If you go by there now, you'll see a couple of areas where their stones are being lifted. They're all being repaired, checked out. They opened up a tomb today. They took some pictures, so Mr. Lent, I think, will probably send them over to you. We did uncover a white-tailed, white-foot mouse that was starting to run around all over. But there's a lot of work there, a lot to be done, and they're really doing quite a job. We're trying to keep it one of the nicest historical sites in Morris County. The Veterans Alliance is also having their Memorial Day parade on on Monday, what's that, the 29th? 29th. Breakfast at the community center from 7 to 8:15, 8:30. We have our services here, and at 9 o'clock, the transport over to the Whippany Park High School. And what is significant is that the Grand Marshal is here tonight with us, Joseph Mahalko Sr. Very well deserved. He had been our spokesperson for many years, did do a lot of the introduction on the grandstand. This time, he gets to sit in the car while everybody recognize him. We congratulate you, Joe. God bless you. You really well deserved.
Thank you. Very good.
Cultural Arts is having a function on the 29th of this month, if anyone is interested. The paperwork is on the table out in the hallway. It's really a terrific a cappella group. I've heard them over at Notre Dame. They were there one evening. It's from 6 to 9. But if you're really interested in attending, you got to call them ahead of time to make reservations. You can't just walk in, because they need to know how to set up all of the seating. And lastly, the fire department is having their 5K run on May 7th, which will begin over at Bee Meadow Pond. If you want to register or go online and find out about it. And the Educational Foundation is having theirs on June 3rd. And theirs starts at Whippany Park High School. And here again, if you're interested, the information is online. You can get whatever you need. I know that we met just recently with the police, who have helped out with police and public works, Brian Ferran and Chief Roddy, on both the security and setting up the whole area for these runs. So if anybody's interested, go online, you can get whatever information you want. Obviously, with the fire department being as close as it is, you'll see a lot of advertising going around throughout the town.
Thanks, George.
Thank you.
Robert.
Yeah, a few things. It was a great weekend for the Hanover Township Little League under the direction of President Mike Halliday. Saturday, they had the parade and opening day ceremonies. I think there were over 700 or 800 hot dogs consumed. So we want to thank the Knights of Columbus for their diligent work and cooking the hot dogs, led by Master Chef George Coppola. The weather wasn't all that cooperative. However, on Sunday, there was back-to-back events for the Little League. On Sunday, there was a softball tournament in memory of Diana DiCrescenzo, who passed away very suddenly and unfortunately last August, left behind a husband and 3 young children. And the intent was to raise money for a scholarship fund. There was a DJ, there was food being prepared, and over 350 softball players. The teams were comprised of families, certain number of kids on each team, certain number of adults, and certain number of females and males, so they had it all split up, so there was a lot of good participation. But it was a wonderful event. The weather was tremendous. Great to see that many people come out from Hanover to support one of their own. Additionally, May 6th, the fishing tournament at Malapartis this year, and the summer camp registration will be open beginning May 10th, along with the Bee Meadow swim team registration. So we're starting to get ready for our summer events here in town. That's it for me, Mr. Mayor.
Very good, very nice, excellent. Just one comment. I know we've gone late and long here, and I really appreciate everyone's time. But we've been getting some questions, and we've been getting some sign-ups on the Hanover Township Stony Brook Community Farm. We've got people that are taking gardens already. We are taking registrations for gardens if you would like to have one of them. There are 144 of the gardens. You can register with the Recreation Department. They'll take your name. It's a fee for the annual fee for the year for the garden. It's about $50. And we're doing fine. We've got the shed in place. The garden is anticipating a May 13th ribbon cutting to officially open. All of the plumbing work is done, the electrical work is done. We have so many people to thank that are involved with it. Interfaith Food Pantry, certainly. Erin Long, who's one of our principal gardeners there, who's been giving us some help and assistance on it. Certainly Mike Wasco, who we met with on Tuesday. And a special thanks because school's going to have a special area of the garden, and they'll use that in teaching curricula as well. So that's going to play a role. Eagle Scouts are pitching in to build some ADA-compliant raised garden beds, so we're very, very pleased with that. And we've got support from so many areas of the community. I think it's going to rally to be a very, very successful garden for Hanover Township, we put it that way. Also want to recognize the work of young Janet Chan. This fifth grader did an absolute wonderful job on the trademark, on the logo for the garden. We recognized her, both Comedian Gallagher and I were at the Board of Education Tuesday night to recognize this young lady who came up with the trademark for the garden. So we were very proud. They had 155 odd entries from the schools for the garden. This young lady's entry will now become the principal sign to enter the garden, and it'll be used on all the stationery officially. To say that she's excited is an understatement, and we're very, very happy for her, so that's great. So that's really it. So if there's nothing else from the Township Committee at this time, I'm going to motion for adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourn.
Okay. Here he
My
comes.
guy, my man.
Here he comes. He got the garden. I remember you talking about these gardens. I remember Joe talking about the gardens. I do remember.